Okay.
You got it.
Okay, this is Art. Am I unmuted also?
You are unmuted.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody, to the PERS presentation. I want to thank Art and Josh for participating. Today we're going to go over the PERS contract and PERS considerations that you should have going into business. And Josh, of course, is going to have the central station perspective and things that you should be thinking about. I've got a terrible cold, so don't sit too close to your phone. I might be contagious. PERS presents something a little bit different than other types of alarm systems. First of all, the loss that you might be facing involves personal injury to the subscriber in most cases. That warrants some special consideration, especially in some states that have some developing case law that deals with personal injury and the enforcement of what we call the protective clauses, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, the exculpatory limitation liability and some of the other provisions that we have in contracts. So the PERS system contracts is, of course, personal emergency response. And there's two reasons for this contract. One, it may be and probably is required by your jurisdiction that you're in. And two, you need it to protect you from potential liability. We are seeing claims in the PERS area. There was a claim not long ago down south where an elderly woman hurt her leg. She wound up laying for some period of time. The pendant that she was wearing didn't work. She wound up losing her leg. They amputated from the knee down. The carrier paid $800,000 on that claim and promptly canceled the alarm E&O insurance that the alarm company had, and that company had a lot of trouble replacing the policy at that point. What did the alarm company do wrong in that case? With a self-installed system, and the phone line was plugged in upside down into the jack. So that was, whether it had been that way all along or it had been disconnected and replugged in that way, that I don't remember. But that was an $800,000 claim that we had. Another claim out of Washington State was an elderly woman that fell in her house, and she pressed the pendant, and no help came, and she laid there for 2 to 3 days. Now, all she suffered was dehydration and fear and things like that. She went to the hospital for a couple of days after, came out. Otherwise, she was all right. But she started a lawsuit, and the alarm company in that case, through its carrier, wound up throwing in to a settlement pot $250,000. Now, in that particular case, and this is something that I might have Art briefly comment on, is in this particular case, when this subscriber first got her PERS unit, excuse me, she had a false alarm. She pressed the pendant, and the signal went out, and and the signal was received by the central. We believe that unit was never reset, so that when she had a real fall a year or two later, and pressed that button, the pendant, no signal went out because the unit wasn't set. Art, can you just take a minute and tell me whether these PERS units are still made so that once a signal is sent out, they have to be somehow reset by a subscriber?
To my knowledge, no. I think they all reset. I know our system is based on DECT 6.0 technology, which is the same as a telephone. So when the central station hits 9, it hangs up and resets. If the central does not hit 9 by error, 1.5 minutes later, it automatically resets.
Well, that's a good feature that we think did not exist at the time this system was put in. So that's a consideration. But for purposes of the conversation right now, the bottom line is this is why you have to have a proper contract and you have to provide a proper service. So I'm going to briefly go through the contract and so you see the kind of things that's there. We start off with the personal property provision, which is, if you're familiar with my contracts, is in almost all of them. The system is personal property. This one is actually very much personal property as opposed to an intrusion system or a fire alarm system. It's obviously, most of these are plug-and-play type units. It's important to say it's personality because you don't want to construe it as anything else, although as in this case, it's not likely that it would be. Schedule of equipment is really what type of communication we're going to have and who's going to install it. So right now we've got POTS, could be cellular, I suppose. I understand that we're also going to be having audio. I'm sorry, VoIP is going to be okay. Is that right? Josh, you would know that. You're a central station. Are you receiving signals VoIP on PERS systems?
VoIP has always been a challenge, but we're seeing some manufacturers make headway there, and so the answer to that question is yes. That's depending on the equipment that can work.
We've had my contracts have always said VoIP may not work, and we're recommending POTS. So I'm not sure whether we're still using that in the contract or not. Obviously, it's going to have to change at some point. First of all, I think POTS is on its way out, from what I understand. So the other option is how this system gets to be operating and whether it's going to be self-installed or the alarm company's installing it. This raises another issue, which is what type of contract are we actually providing to the alarm company for use? The alarm companies that are doing PERS installation as part of their own operation within a jurisdiction, within a state, are probably self-installing these things along with the rest of the systems that they're putting in. But a lot of other alarm companies are looking at nationwide advertising and ship plug-and-play systems. These companies face a different challenge because they now need to present the subscriber with a contract that's going to meet all of the different standards in different states. No alarm company wants to have 50 different contracts it needs to use. So it needs to create a universal contract, so to speak, yet they don't want to use this universal contract if they don't have to, because the universal contract could end up being multiple pages. It is multiple pages, 5, 6, 7 pages, as opposed to our regular PERS contract, which is only front and back. So, of course, a company doing national sales and the ship and plug and play is also probably doing online contract execution. If the contract is online, then it doesn't matter how long it is, because the subscriber's just scrolling down, clicking through it, and saying okay at the end. So then they don't really, they're not really counting pages as if you were to hand them 5, 6 pages of these things. PERS has separate cancellation provisions than regular alarm systems. Unlike an alarm contract for other types of alarm services, the contract is cancelable on death of the subscriber. It's cancelable when they go into a nursing home facility or are unable to use the PERS system. They have the right to cancel. And some states may give them other statutory rights to cancel. So we provide for this in the contract. Now, when you get a standardized form from us, what we've done is incorporate almost all of the strictest and stringent requirements from each of the states and created a composite contract that contains all of these different items, especially if I felt that the inclusion of these provisions was not really detrimental to the alarm company and was really fair and something that should be included. So, for example, these cancellation provisions, even though you may be in a state that does not permit the cancellation, if they go into a nursing home, I sort of felt that we should be canceling it. You don't want to be the alarm company that sues someone for going to the balance of the contract because they either died and you're suing their estate, or because they went into a nursing home and they're not capable of pressing a pendant any longer, and have a judge come up with some ideas about what other restrictions should be imposed against you, or some state legislation coming out that now starts to restrict your operation in ways that you haven't even thought of yet. So that's why we've adopted these provisions, and I think they're fair. Paragraph 4 deals with the money you're going to be getting. Basically, the sales price is here, and you may or may not be getting anything for the sale. If you are, it goes in here. If you're not charging for this thing, a unit to be sent out, then that's obviously going to be not applicable. We do provide, obviously you can see that this is designed for shipping the unit to the subscriber and self-installation. And FOB, sale FOB, means that the risk of loss during shipment is on the subscriber. And that's what A is. B is obviously the monitoring charge you're going to be charging. This is where your monthly amount goes. So this is going to be the monthly amount. This is going to be payable. That's going to be the periodic payment that you've selected, whether it be monthly or quarterly or annually. But the only number that the subscriber is going to be seeing is the monthly charge. The extended warranty, this is the only contract where I have extended warranty as opposed to a service contract. It's really, in a sense, the same thing. Here, the only thing to be repaired, obviously, is a unit, a PERS, a base, whatever they call it, and any pendants that you have, or remote devices. So these things are generally going to be shipped back to you for service or repair. And here you're going to be getting the charge for it. Again, this is a monthly charge that you see, and that will be in addition to the charge you're getting for the monitoring. The term of this agreement, we have it designed as 3 years. It is the shortest term I have in any of my contracts, and obviously someone who's getting a PERS unit is likely to be elderly, and we felt that this was a sufficient amount of time. It is renewable month to month thereafter. You have a right under this contract to charge after the first year up to 9%. Some of you may be curious whether the problem that ADT ran into is going out in California is going to come back to haunt you, and the answer is no. First of all, you're not ADT, and if you are, I'm sorry, but those of you that aren't, you're not bound by anything ADT agrees to do. And secondly, my increase is much different than ADT's. You have a right to increase, and the subscriber's obligated to pay it. We have wireless capabilities written into this contract as well. The PERS units are also coming with very often GPS capability. I don't know whether Art wants to mention anything about that at this point, whether you have any systems you know how many units that include GPS as well as strictly the medical alert monitoring aspect?
Not at this time. We're about 5 minutes away. I'm sorry, 5 months away from
5 months, okay.
that.
And Josh, are you monitoring GPS?
Yes, we are, and that technology is pretty new, and there's some people who are really trying to gain some traction there, and so we are monitoring some of that.
So this contract will cover that. Although this particular contract I'm showing you now is really just for personal emergency response monitoring and not the GPS. But we do have the wireless stuff in here for you. But if you're going to be doing the GPS in addition to the PERS monitoring, then you probably want to give us a call, and we're going to select a different contract for you that specifically refers to GPS. You know, GPS is coming out in 2 ways, and I'm not talking now from a technological point of view. I'm talking about what clients have called me about and asked that I prepare contracts for. So you've got some GPS systems that sort of follow the subscriber around, and when the pendant's pushed, or even without, or a lot of these things are now smartphone applications, that the person can be located via the GPS. Other systems are coming out, though, and more in line with the PERS services, where alerts are sent off if the person wearing the pendant strays beyond areas they're permitted to be in. So if they're not supposed to be in a kitchen or leave a house, the signal goes out when they've actually left the areas that they're permitted to be in. So the contracts need to be designed, and this, of course, this is definitely an emerging technology, and yes, these contracts are going to have to keep pace with the emerging technology. 8 basically says, paragraph 8 is what's the central station going to do when it gets the signal, and one of the things that you need to do, and maybe Josh will be talking about it later, is understand what your central station is going to be. What are they going to be doing when they get that signal? Are they calling the subscriber? Are they calling a family member, a neighbor? Are they calling police or fire or EMT? You need to know who they're calling. You need to have a clear understanding of what the subscriber expects the central station to do, and you need to know what the central station understands it's supposed to do, and you, as the dealer, needs to make sure that those two are the same. Because if they're not, you're in the middle, and you're going to have a problem. The cancellation forms that are required in a PERS situation come in 2 ways. One, if the sale is the result of a door-to-door sales transaction, then you're governed by that 3-day notice of cancellation. That's whether there's a special cancellation requirement or not. However, some states do have a separate cancellation requirement specifically for personal emergency response contracts. So in that case, we have provided for this extended cancellation right, and basically it's what I've described already, and it makes it a little bit more clear and gives the subscriber more rights. The bottom line is if they can't use the system, you're going to wind up letting them out of the contract. This really almost at-will subscription agreement is not really a burden on you, because first of all, you're competing against other PERS providers, some or many of whom are already on a month-to-month relationship with their subscribers. They're promoting themselves as month-to-month month, because that's how they feel marketing will best achieve more subscribers. And so by trying to lock into long-term contracts, it most likely isn't going to work for you. This is also the reason, by the way, that we're going to end up valuing PERS RMR, recurring monthly revenue, at less than other contracts, other subscriber contracts. It's simply not going to be valued the same. You're not looking at 36, 40, 45 times the RMR on a PERS contract, because we know that it's really cancelable for many different reasons earlier. On PERS, it is customary to try and get automatic payment. First of all, you don't want your subscribers, the elderly, to have to go and figure out how to make payment to you. The limited warranty, 90 days is what we provide for. That means you're going to replace that unit or the pendant within the first 90 days that it's put in. The contract makes it clear that they're obligated to put in their. They have to provide the communication, whether it's going to be telephone or VoIP or some other way. And they've got to also, these units work off electric. They have to supply that. So that also is their understanding. Testing. We place the onus of testing on the subscriber with all of our systems. If you want to design a feature that you offer that no one else does, that you will perform some type of inspection or verification service, or you're going to call your subscriber once a week and you're going to check this unit out via telephone or things like that, that's fine, but the contract says they're required to test it. They're required to hit that button, I guess, once a week, once a month, make sure it's working, let you know it's a test signal, and that's how they'll know it's functioning properly. Contracts are not terminable on death, but this one is. Generally, you enter into a contract unless it says you're not responsible after your death, your estate becomes responsible. It may not matter to someone with no estate, but if someone does have an estate, they don't want it to be responsible for a PERS unit that they're obviously not going to be using. We have then the typical provisions. We start to get into the protective provisions that we have in all of the contracts. The purpose of this webinar is not to go into detail on these. These are general provisions that all of our standardized forms have. And assignment, waiver of subrogation rights is the one we start with. You don't want the subscriber's family or the subscriber's insurance company who might pay out, or someone else's insurance company who might pay out coming after you. And we don't want the subscriber also giving its pendant to someone else and using it, creating some type of liability to you. The indemnity is again one of the typical provisions we have in the contract that's in here. And we have a legal provision that covers you to provide for arbitration. And one of the reasons for that you'll see in the contract without perhaps understanding it yourself is that we're trying to prevent any class action lawsuits against you from being maintained. So one of the reasons for the arbitration provision is to make it clear that anyone who has a beef with you is stuck dealing with it in an arbitration process where it cannot be maintained as a class action. That's important for PERS operators that are operating with mass distribution and subscribers all over the place. You've got lawyers out there trying to figure out every single day how they can come up with a class action. The additional payments may or may not apply if as a result of providing your service, you're obligated to any additional payment from any agency or permit fees. False alarm, permit fees. Gosh, you or Art are making a lot of noise. One of you got to be a little more quiet. 19 is the your right to subcontract. This is an important paragraph for you because unless you are your own central station, you are at the very least subcontracting out the monitoring. Your monitoring company, Josh might be speaking to this later, is going to want to know that it has protective provisions in a contract that insulates it from lawsuits brought by a subscriber or someone else. Now, the central station can deal with that by using its own contract that it makes you, the dealer, sign along with your subscriber. Some of you may not want to use what's known as a three-party contract, and you're going to try and convince your central station, hey, we have this form that we use, this contract that we use. We don't need to get a three-party contract signed because you're adequately protected by the contract that we use. Well, if you're using my contracts, you're right. And a lot of central stations, and I don't want to put Josh on the spot at the moment as to whether he does or not, will accept these contracts because it clearly provides that all the protective provisions that protect the dealer are extended to and protect all the subcontractors, including the central station. And, of course, the most prominent one is the exculpatory clause, the limitation of liability clause. We have one of the things unique to the PERS contracts also is the personal medical disclosure authorization. You want to be able to get you want to have the right to collect some data and be able to disseminate that data through your central station, who is going to provide information to responding EMT personnel if they ask for it. You're at the very least authorized to give it. We make it clear that you are not obligated to respond to any type of personal emergency response. You're not the one responding, and you really have no exposure in that regard, and you shouldn't. So this is, if someone wants it and asks for it, you're authorized to release it. And now, of course, the single document that we're going to have, the severability clause. Here's the notice of cancellation. Why do we use 7 days? Because New York is the one with the 7-day notice. I don't know if any other jurisdictions require it. Most are 3-day requirement. Again, that applies only if it's a door-to-door sale or if there's a specific statute for personal emergency response. I actually thought about this, and I prefer to give the extended time because we also feel that alarm companies are not restricting themselves to one jurisdiction. And I haven't been able to come up with any reason why someone would complain that there was additional time given to cancel this. Of course, a lot of you, it may not even apply to those of you that have month-to-month relationships with your subscriber anyway, because if they can cancel month-to-month, there isn't much to complain about. We've also adopted a requirement that's out of one of the southern states. I'm not sure whether it's South Carolina or Tennessee. They have this primary response directive, and it's a required form, and the subscriber has to basically opt out of 911 if they don't want that to be the first call. So the primary response is to 911. If they want somebody else called first, they have to provide that. This is essentially a call list. Your central station is going to require a call list anyway, as you are, and this is the call list provision. So now I'm going to call on Art to give his prepared presentation. Art, are you ready? Art?
I had to unmute. Yes, I am ready, Ken. Thank you.
Okay, so let's hear from Art for a while.
Okay. Well, my name is Art Von Onnen. I'm the national sales trainer with Logic Mark. And LogicMark is a manufacturer. Our equipment, I feel, is a little more advanced than the traditional. In saying that, you're able to speak with the central station dispatcher through our pendant itself. So you don't need to be close to a base unit if you have a situation. And what I call situations are people that may slip in the rain and fall at a mailbox, just need a help getting back into the house, or going to the bathroom and having a problem getting back to bed, where they don't need an ambulance. So by able to speak into the pendant, they're able to tell the dispatcher, I just need my daughter to come over and help me, or my neighbor, or my friend. So it opens up the services a little bit more, which seems to be desirable in this this age of a term called aging in place or aging at home. So these daily situations they run into are able to be handled very easily too, without sending ambulances all the time. Now, I would like to just address quickly two things that Ken had brought up that are very important. The VoIP is becoming dominant as far as phone lines. We have an option in our system that you can program contact ID or 4x2. 4x2 is simply the older way of programming a digital transmitter. It's just a tad slower than contact ID, but it does work well with the VoIP, the cable phones and Vonage and all this type of thing. Josh will have to touch on this, but I believe it actually goes into a different receiver on the other end. So I have companies now that are using 4x2 as a standard, and then if the kids switch to telephone service or something, you don't have an issue with tests not coming in, and so on. As far as testing, our system is defaulted at a weekly test, which is important. It does send a test signal into the central every week. It can be changed to daily or monthly, but we do suggest weekly. So you do know the system's working, you know that it's plugged in, and you know that you're getting tests. That doesn't alleviate the customer from pushing their button and testing physically also. Now, another thing that's built into our system, I believe we're the only one that has it, is if it's unplugged from the phone line. You run into situations where the grandkids will come over to visit, and they'll unplug grandmom's medical alert to plug in their PlayStation, and then they leave, they don't plug anything back in. So these kind of situations do happen, and if our unit is unplugged for, it doesn't feel or hear a dial tone for 13 hours, it will begin talking, and it'll say that the system is not connected to the phone line. So, and this gets very irritating. It's funny, the seniors will call and say it's saying something, and you have to say, well, what's it saying? And they have to push their little test button, and it'll say it again, so you know what you're dealing with. But that is another safety feature that's built in. Now, I work with the dealers. I work with our dealers very hard, entering the marketplace, the senior marketplace, the medical alert marketplace, and it's becoming a big awareness to the alarm companies that, geez, people are out there selling a lot of medical alerts. And how do I approach it? How do I get into the business? A lot of them try to add it as another component to their security offerings, and that really isn't sufficient. The medical alert customer will call a medical alert company, not a security company. So what happens is you'll sell one here or there, and you'll get a call here and there, but it has to be marketed as a medical alert company. So there's some things to consider in doing that, which is, you know, if your name is ABC Security and you have a beautiful logo and lawn signs are all over your area, people know you, then you do a division, doing business as or something, where you use that logo and then change to ABC Medical Alert, a division of ABC Security. So that when your people walk into a senior center or to an organization that works with seniors, or the senior themselves, they can say, gee, my name is Art and I'm with ABC Medical Alert. You know us, we're a division of ABC Security. You see our signs everywhere. So, you know, you don't lose your credentials, your history, and your dominance in an area. So it's very easy to slide into it, but your business cards and brochures really have to say medical alert. And then you become a medical alert company, so that psychologically in the consumer's mind, you are competing in the same marketplace as the lifelines and life alerts of the medical alert industry. Now, you know, it's a big marketplace, and unless you learn it, I'm just an old alarm guy. I've been in the business over 35 years. I had to learn the medical alert business myself. And I went to work with a company, had the opportunity to learn it. 5 years into it, we were selling 8,000 systems a month. So that seems like it's way over the top. It's very easily attained by concentrating on that marketplace. So, you know, so a company that wants to sell a couple hundred a month really doesn't have an issue doing that if they know how to do it, and that's where I come in. The marketplace is very large. It's 40 million seniors, age 65 and over right now. Now that's quite a marketplace, and it's virtually untapped. Okay, there are companies out there right now. In fact, the big three: Life Alert, Lifeline, and Connect America. Between the three of those companies, they're selling 20,000, well, more than 20,000 systems a month. That's incredible. Okay, we've never done that in the alarm industry. So, you know, these are companies at the top of the list and selling that kind of volume. There's a lot of companies the next tier down that sell 1,000 a month or 2,000 a month. But you know, the masses are not doing that. So the alarm industry can look at this marketplace of 40 million people and say, hey, teach me how to get there. And that's what we do. Now, the nice part, and what's bringing a lot of attention, is the baby boomers are coming into play. Now, everybody talks about the baby boomers. I don't think most of the talk, I don't believe they understand what's coming. From 1945 to 1964 is the baby boomer era. Now, in 2011, the first baby boomer turned 65. So we're 2 years into it right now. And we got 17 years left. In 2030, there will have been 27 million baby boomers turning age 65. And that trend then will ride for another 20 years, because from 65 to 85 is your customer. So it'll probably outlive all of us at this point. So it's quite a nice future. Now, in 1978, when I got strong into the medical alert business, the timing was perfect then. People were breaking in homes. People were learning how to sell medical alerts to them. And we just went like crazy. And today's world, that same industry, I call it trading customers. Everybody's still doing okay. But then they're taking over each other's systems. You know, it's kind of funny. You can almost sell a system. Somebody next year is going to walk it up, knock on the door, and take it over. Then you're going to argue with that customer, and a year later, you're liable to knock on the door and take it over and have them back again. So they're really trading customers, if you think about it. And it's kind of a funny situation. The medical alert industry, on the other hand, has a bright future. One last statistic I'm going to give you, and it'll kind of keep you up at night if you think about it. 10,000 people a day are turning 65 right now. 10,000 people a day. Now that's incredible also. And what that means, and I didn't believe that number, so I Googled it, and you'll probably go home right now and do the same thing. But however, 10,000 people a day, that's something. You can market today to a whole group of people. A year from now, you got 120,000 people more in that group of people that are fresh, new customers. So you can continually work with this marketplace. And it just has such a bright future. Now, getting into the marketplace itself, as I said, you know, you need an identity. It has to say medical alert on it. And now you're seriously a company. The organizations out there, church organizations, have committees that work with their seniors. Senior centers are looking for people to work with them every day. There's home care companies popping up on virtually every corner. They're giving services such as the Meals on Wheels, cooking meals. They shop for the people. They make sure they take their medicines. There's groups that come in and clean homes for the people. So at this point, people are able to age at home. They're getting all the same services that they would get in a nursing home, and yet they don't have any communication. So the medical alert is that last piece. When you go into a nursing home, they tuck you in real pretty, they give you a button, and they say, if you need anything, push the button. So now people can stay at home, and this is how you have to present your product to them, that you're getting all these other things done for you. What you don't have is a button to push. So, you know, we want to give you a button to push if you need anything. And that's really the philosophy that goes out there in selling a medical alert today. All right, it isn't all ambulances running to your house every minute. It's dealing with your everyday situations. Okay, you sit in a chair, you get stiff, can't get back up to your walker, you push your button and say, can you call my daughter? Can she come over and help me? So these are the issues that you're handling with a medical alert. The support that we give is walking you through all these steps, setting up a division, help you hire. It's a different salesperson. It's not somebody that knows how to sit at a desk or a kitchen table and close the sale. I mean, I did that for years, grab their collar, drag them across the desk, and get their signature. But with a senior, you have to talk slowly and clearly and loud so they can hear you, and explain what it will do for them. And your hard close is, Evelyn, let's just get you taken care of. And to learn how to do that, believe it or not, seems to be very difficult. So these are the things that I teach, the presentations, help hire a staff that will work in that division, and teach them what to do every day. Now, in closing, on my slide, you will see my contact information, and you also see Kevin Marcus. Kevin is our National Sales Director. He and I work very closely together, working with the companies, rolling out these programs. We do private labeling for our dealers. Kevin works with that with you. If depending on your volume, your special pricing programs, and all these types of things, all the logistics to set up your company properly to be competitive in this marketplace. So, you know, this is what we do, and we work very closely and very hard with our people. Now, I'm going to turn the webinar over to Josh. Josh Garner with Avantgarde, and he can tell you the next step. What happens when you do sell one and somebody does push that button, and the logistics at that end. So with that, Josh, I welcome you and thank everyone for listening to our presentation today.
Fantastic, Art. Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Art
Yes.
and Ken?
Yes, we
okay,
can.
Great.
Great.
Art, I want to just follow up on one question for you. There's 40 million seniors, 65 plus. Do we know the size of the PERS market? I've heard numbers about 2 million subscribers. Is that right?
Well, I would have to say that is probably about right. I know Lifeline's pushing 800,000. Gee whiz, Connect America at this point is doing 12,000 a month, so they've got to be pushing right behind. I understand they're number 2 in the marketplace at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's.
So you're looking at 2 million, correctly?
All right. So about 5% penetration in the market. Obviously, a lot of room to grow, and something that we can all be excited about. So, Ken, do you want to advance to my slide?
Oh, sorry. There you go.
That's okay. No problem. All right. Fantastic. Wow. I like the pink. I didn't, at least it's showing on mine as pink. I'm not sure I put it that way, but I like pink today. That's great. Thank you, Ken, for having me on this webinar. To answer your question, yes, we do refer dealers to your contract all the time, and when they buy your contract, we know that we don't have to worry, and so we highly recommend our dealers to you, and we also use your contract for the dealer agreement with the central station. So there's my endorsement for you. And Art, we love Logic Mark, and we appreciate what you had to say. Okay, let me just introduce Avantgarde. Is a wholesale monitoring company. We're headquartered in Ogden, Utah. We have another center in Tacoma, Washington that's fully redundant, and that's important to us. But we've been monitoring PERS now. We're going on our 9th year in the PERS space, and we've really created kind of a niche for ourselves. It's something that we feel we're really good at in addition to the security monitoring, but we sure love what we do in the PERS space, and it's something that is so rewarding because we might find that 1% or less than 1% of burglar alarms are real events. In the PERS industry, we find that activations, there's a much higher percentage of real events, and so it's very rewarding as a company for us to see that we're helping people, and we track this on our website. We have news articles, and if you happen to go to our website, you'll see that on a weekly basis we're posting articles of real-life situations where people press their button, and it's not just I've fallen and I can't get up. It's, you know, I think the one that's going to get posted today or tomorrow is about the woman's divorced husband who was coming to kill her, and she pressed her button, and we summoned the police, and the man was arrested on site. So and it's one of those things you just can't help but feel good about your contribution and your service to society. So a couple of things on the prerequisites to monitoring PERS. First of all, your central station's got to be excellent at two-way voice. PERS in the marketplace, if you're trying to sell PERS that's not two-way voice, good luck. It needs to be two-way voice, and your central station's got to be good at it. The other thing is the excellent response times. These seniors are hypersensitive to the response times. So often we'll come over the speaker and it's been 50 seconds from the time they push their button, and mind you, it takes 30 seconds for a POTS line to dial and transmit its signal to the receiver. So within 20 seconds we've been able to access it, we've been able to connect to the two-way, come over the speaker, and the first thing we hear from this elderly woman is, "What took you so long? I could have been dead on the floor by now." And so response times are something that we monitor regularly, and we pay very close attention to, and so your central station's got to give you some reassurances that they're going to have superior response times. The next thing is some specific training and protocol. There are some central stations out there who advertise that they have EMT certified and trained operators. I don't necessarily agree with that standpoint because I don't want to put myself or you in a situation of liability that we're going to advertise that we're going to give any kind of medical advice. We do not give medical advice. That's not our job. Our job is to summon help and then be the comforting voice on the phone. And so our training revolves around that. There's some nuances of monitoring PERS. Like I said, dealing with the elderly is interesting. Also, if you compare a residential burglar alarm system, which might have on average 1 or 2 activations a year, we see today in our population of PERS subscribers, 80% of the subscribers having an activation monthly. So that's about a 10-fold increase in activations. These are highly more active than your burglar alarm customers, and your central station has to be prepared for that volume and has to understand how they can still give you competitive pricing with that increase of activity. Also, Ken mentioned briefly the personal medical information. This has been a practice that's been ongoing for years and years. I think Lifeline probably started it, where the medical information of the subscriber was given to the central station. What we have found and what we've seen with our dealers, and the trend is moving away from this, because what happens is these people's their medical information and their list of medications is changing almost daily, and as soon as they give that information to the central station, it's outdated. And so a better practice is to tell the central station that the medical information is located on a magnet on the refrigerator, so that when we call the EMTs, the 911 dispatch agency, and we're dispatching, we can tell them the list of medications or their medical history is on the refrigerator, and it's up to them to keep it up to date. That way we're not giving stale information. Another nuance of the monitoring is the whether or not the central station is going to stay on the line until EMS or the paramedics arrive. As you can imagine, that can take up a lot of time, and so it might be 5 minutes if you're in a highly densely populated area and the paramedics are close by. It could be 25 minutes before they arrive, and if we make that guarantee that we're going to stay on the line, then and that is a good practice. We believe in that practice. But sometimes dealers ask, well, how can I get my service a little bit cheaper? If you want, we can get off of the line, and the way that we describe that to the subscribers, we say, okay, you know, Mary Beth, help is on the way. I'm going to disconnect. If you need help again, press your button. In any case, whether we stay on the line or we don't stay on the line, we make a follow-up call 30 minutes later to find out what the resolution is. And that helps you as a dealer, because we send you an email and say, hey, Mary Beth had a fall. She was transported to the hospital. You then, as a dealer, can go back to that referral source and say, hey, Mr. Home Care Company, you referred Mary Beth. She's now in the hospital. Want you to know that. And then the home care company finds great value in that, because they can go back to the hospital and make sure that when Mary Beth's discharged again, that she's discharged back onto their service. So again, we complete the values chain there. A couple of other services. Art mentioned, or excuse me, Ken mentioned the testing. We put the onus on the subscriber to do the testing. However, it's just like a security panel or fire alarm panel. You can program timer tests, and you can change those to be daily, weekly, or monthly, however often you want to do that. You as the dealer need to make sure that you are managing those timer tests, because if we are looking for a timer test every 2 weeks, let's say, and we've missed 5 consecutive timer tests, that's 10 weeks that we have known and you have potentially known that their unit isn't working. Action needs to be taken on that. That is a service that we can provide to our dealers, and we can make some of those follow-up calls for you. Obviously, it's an additional feature, but that right there can limit a lot of our liability and the dealer's liability, and making sure that we follow up on that. And I've kind of exhausted the time there. Hopefully we've enticed you. If you have other questions, feel free to reach out to us. Troy Iverson's my VP of Sales. His contact information is there. I've got our website address, but also this PERS Summit is a conference we host for PERS dealers out in sunny Park City, Utah. Go ahead and look at the website. The website that's up is last year's website. 2013's website will be launching in April. But if you're interested in more information, feel free to follow us there. Ken, back to you.
Well, thanks, Art, and thanks, Josh. Very informative. Well, I'm not in the alarm industry, but I'm sure it was valuable information to everyone who is. In wrapping up, I want to do 2 things. One, I always offer a special on the contracts when I speak, or now these webinars are new, and we're going to experiment in a minute. But here's the deal on the PERS contracts. First of all, they come sale or lease. I don't really care. I don't know whether you do, whether you're selling or leasing these units. The chances of getting them back in working order, I don't know if it's that good. So whether you're leasing and getting some type of money up front for the lease, or whether you're going to be selling it and you put a price on the unit, either way, it's going to wind up being the same number, I suspect. And either way, the contracts are available, and we're going to take $100 off today, either the sales contract or the lease contract or both contracts. So potentially that's a $200 savings if you decide to order both, or $100 if you decide to order one. That deal's good till 5 o'clock New York time today, and hopefully you will take advantage of it. If you have questions about a national contract that you want to use, and it would really be an online unless you're looking at a 7- or 8-page contract, please call Eileen Wagner in my office. She's our contract administrator, and she's at our office address, which is on the website here, and she's extension 312. And she will have the pricing for a contract that you can use throughout the country. Now, before I close out, I'm going to try something we haven't done yet. I'm going to invite everyone to be unmuted and see if we can somehow coordinate questions that you might have for either me, Art, or Josh, and we'll see if we can field them. If it gets, hopefully there'll be some questions. If not, we'll see if we can field them or not. So let me first of all see if I can figure out how to do this. I've muted all. Well, I don't know how to unmute all, I guess. Art and Josh, can you still hear me?
Welcome to GoToWebinar, Web Events Made Easy. Welcome to GoToWebinar, Web Events Made Easy.
Ken, can you still hear me?
No, I'm talking to the telephone. They're trying to...
Okay. I guess that isn't going to work. We'll have to figure something else out. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for participating today and listening, and I hope you learned something. Hope you take advantage of the contract orders, and I hope you use LogicMart and Josh's company, and see you next time. Thanks.